Welcome to another episode of The Marketer's Edge, an interview series designed to share senior level marketing executive perspective about the marketplace, agency relationships, marketer challenges, and opportunities. Our goal is to help marketers think more broadly about their business by learning from other marketers across different industries and to help provide perspective for agencies about the things marketers deal with every day to help them better represent their clients and win new business. My name's Mark Snyder. I'm the owner and president of RSW Agency Search. We're a search firm that helps small to mid-spend marketers find best-in-class agencies for project needs or larger assignments. And I also run RSW US, an outsourced agency new business firm. Today, we're talking with Michael Margolies, the VP of Marketing and Creative for Leggett and Platt, based out of Carthage, Missouri. Leggett and Platt is in the business of creating products that make life more comfortable, which of course could mean a lot of different things, but we'll have Michael explain that in just a minute. Michael has a very interesting 35-year career. His experiences have been wide ranging, but mostly tied to design and creative. His work includes being the owner of his own photo and design studio, VP Creative Services for Benchmark Brands, Director of Advertising for Macy's West, and Creative Manager for Cabela's. And while at Amazon, he was managing their largest production studio for luxury goods, footwear, sporting goods, jewelry, and watches. At Leggett and Platt, Michael leads a team of creative professionals in managing integrated campaigns across virtually every platform to guide marketing objectives into fresh, award-winning ideas. Michael, thanks so much for joining us today. How have you been?
Great. Thanks, Mark.
No, no problem at all. No problem at all. I've got a number of questions for you, and I'm looking forward to hearing the answers to those. But before we do, could you just maybe tell me a little bit about Leggett and Platt so our viewers know what kind of company it is?
Sure. Leggett and Platt's about 132 years old. They were a farmer and a plow manufacturer got together, and they had the idea that beds could be a little bit more comfortable than they were back then. And they
Okay.
invented the bed spring, and that launched the company. They invented what we think of as a modern bed, and grew from there to now where we're in automotive and aerospace and flooring and steel manufacturing as well as bedding components.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's a fascinating company. I really didn't know much about it, and when you agreed to the interview, I dug obviously a little bit deeper into it, and it's a pretty interesting organization. Curious, how have obviously we've all been dealing with supply chain issues on varying levels, but how have supply chain issues affected your business and maybe specifically, how has your marketing had to adjust to those changes?
Mark, probably like most manufacturers, COVID and the lack of labor and some of the other shipping challenges have been a challenge for us too. We're a global company. We manufacture all over the world and sell into markets all over the world. But one of the problems we face, like everyone else, is getting raw materials.
Right.
Uh, for quite a while, steel was a big problem, and the chemicals that we use to make many of our products was also very difficult to obtain. Much of that has kind of ironed itself out a little bit.
Oh, that's
We've
good.
changed, we've changed the way we go to market and how we inventory, keeping more inventory on hand. We've built several new distribution centers across the United States and Mexico to be able to house more raw materials
Hmm,
that we can have on hand and more readily adjust with supply issues. And those are just coming online now, but that's really helped us smooth out the impact of the supply chain.
got it. And so when things were under a lot of pressure, did you have to change the way you marketed your business or supported your salespeople? Was there anything specific that had to adjust?
Very Leggett and Platt is very much a relationship based sales organization.
Got it.
Our engineers and our sales reps, who are very technical, deal very closely with individuals in the companies that we serve. We don't sell very little to nothing almost online, and we don't sell direct to consumers. So
Right,
we're,
right.
we're mostly a B2B. And because of COVID and the lockdowns, that prevented us to bringing our clients in to see us into our
Sure.
IDA centers and us going to go to them. One of the things that we saw that changed dramatically is our use of 3D modeling and video, which we were already pretty good at, but came to realize really quickly that we could be much better communicators getting the information about our products to our clients by demonstrating the products in 3D photorealistic versions, since they couldn't come and touch and feel.
Cool.
And
I'm curious, that that change, like in my business, I used to fly to meet new clients, and now I'm doing it virtually. And I imagine that I probably will continue to do it virtually because it's working pretty well. And our business is very different from your business. Did you find, or have you found that what you've been doing during the pandemic could prove as a bit of a substitute for some of that sort of uh, face-to-face work you were doing, or do you see yourself reverting back to the way you were doing it pre-pandemic?
our clients have let us know they're anxious to get back together,
That's great.
in particular because they need to see and help build and design products with us. Um, One of the areas where we do a lot of face to face meeting was trade shows, which were stopped for the last 2 years and are just
Hmm.
starting to get back again.
Got it.
That was an extensive part of our business. But virtual will definitely continue to be a part of it. It's also changing the way we deploy our websites with a lot more 3D and video content.
That's great. That's great. Yep. Not so much a marketing question, but just more of a business question. You play Leggett and Platt plays in a number of different categories, as you mentioned, like auto, flooring, bedding, aerospace. I'm curious, where did the business start? Well, you said springs for beds, and was the move into these other categories deliberate, or did they sort of just organically evolve, meaning, did the business kind of come to you? And if it was deliberate, I'm just curious how the company organized and prioritized its diversification. We'll have other marketers watching this interview and thinking that what you guys have done may be of some interest and value to them.
Certainly. Acquisitions has always been a big part of the company. And in many cases, they've tried to acquire complementary companies that allow us to basically have a cradle to grave process. Um, all the way going back to the raw steel. We're one of North America's largest user of recycled and reclaimed steel, for example.
Hmm,
And we have our own steel mills that we're using primarily to support the products that we make. But as things like that came online, then you start finding other customers because we use steel rod to make the bed springs, for example. But those same components work in office furniture and home furniture and in automotive applications, in making fences
right.
and store displays. So over time, businesses that we would either find that were complementary, we would either make acquisitions or build them out ourselves. And in some cases, they came to us where we became partners and worked together for years. And at some point, it made sense for the company to acquire those businesses.
Got it.
Uh,
Got it. Is has the make life more comfortable sort of mantra, does that hang well across all of the categories that you're in?
Probably a few that don't.
Okay.
Our primary business is yes, but for example, in our aerospace divisions that make specialized tubing and joints and metal parts that go in things anywhere from an aircraft to a spaceship,
Okay.
uh,
Probably
you
not.
probably don't know that that product is even there.
Right. Right. Okay. Interesting. All right. Well, so just kind of jumping back to the marketing world here, you've operated as an advertising director for a very consumer centric organization, Macy's West. Curious how marketing is different running a company that is primarily B2B, but also involves. I think you mentioned to me before the interview that you do some selling a private label and some, maybe not a lot, direct to consumer selling.
As most retailers would know, demographic understanding of your audience is super important. It certainly was at West. We had profiles and personas that every kind of person that might come into one of their stores or utilize their websites. Spent a great deal in much more complex analysis of how sales were going and trends. Did the weather affect the performance of this store? Did this celebrity that was on the news last night wear a sweater that we have in stock? Do we need to stock that up because now it's going to be popular for the next week? We spent a lot of time really thinking about how does the consumer think and how do they approach our products and how do they feel about their experience in the store.
Right.
B2B is very different, where our sales process is much more engineering driven and solution driven. And so we're not trying to create enticements like you would in retail to create desire and want. Instead, it's much more practical. How can we provide solutions that help this client manufacturer bring products to market that are going to be profitable for them? How can we
Yep.
help remove costs out of their processes? How can we help them to be more efficient in the ways that they go to market and the things that they build? Perhaps we can help them by building things for them. Um,
Got it. Yeah, it makes sense. I'm just curious. I'm sure there aren't many in answer to this question, but are there any consumer marketing principles that you've found you've sort of carried into this B2B world that work effectively? Messaging or the way you're going to trade shows, the way you sort of market yourself at trade shows. I'm just curious if there's any carryover. I have seen some B2B companies bring consumer marketing leaders into their organization just to try and capitalize on some of those. And I'm just curious, in your world, do you see much of that happening?
yeah, I think there's a lot of crossover. The way we would address branding and message and voice and positioning very much crosses over into the retail world.
There you go. Yep. Yep. That makes good sense. So, curious, do you guys have I know you manage an internal marketing group, or does it operate more or less like an internal agency for you?
Very much. We do have some outside agencies for specific needs. For sometimes they're better at addressing particularly narrow markets that they're more specialized than we are. Uh,
Okay.
we we try to support our companies globally, and so there's also times when a local agency might be more appropriate in a particular country than having us try to do everything.
Okay, got it. On a country by country basis. I'm just curious because obviously, in-house agencies are definitely a thing. Curious in your world, when you do go outside and look for specialty agencies, what types of agencies help you sort of fill the gaps where maybe your internal expertise just can't get you to where you need to be.
A good example of that is bringing products to consumers directly, particularly online channels, marketplaces like an Overstock or Wayfair or Amazon. There are specialty companies that help large companies like ourselves that don't have a retail presence navigate that, process the products, and do the data feeds and help you to optimize your products on those different marketplaces. Even though we're probably pretty knowledgeable about how those things work, we don't have the manpower to execute it.
Got it. Got it. So some of it is a little bit of a spillover because you don't have enough resources inside to necessarily get it all done.
Exactly.
Okay. And just if you had to sort of define the core advantages to having an in-house agency like group, like you have at Leggett at Platt, what would those advantages be, do you think, versus, working outside almost exclusively with an agency?
And I've worked at agencies or consulted with agencies too, and I'm aware of being on both sides of that. One of the core advantages is our intimacy with our products. We have, for example, an art director, graphic artist, web developers, project managers that will spend many years with a client where they're quite intimate with how those things make. They can talk about I can't, but I've got art directors that could tell you about the tensile strength and spring back of a piece of metal that is way over my head. But they can
Right.
talk competently with the engineers. So when an engineer says, The fact that we did 3 twists on this piece of wire and not 4 means something. They understand what they're talking about, and they can craft that
Right.
into a value proposition. An
Yep.
outside agency can make things look pretty and present it well, and help you target your audience, but they don't have that intimacy with the products that's so
Got it.
important to our customers.
Got it. Yep. Yep. That makes good sense. I know in some more sales driven organizations, sometimes there's a bit of tension between the sales group and the marketing group, and, sales wanting one thing and marketing not necessarily giving them exactly what they need. At Leggett and Platt, how do you avoid those issues? How do you work well with your sales team? Any counsel for those listening to us today?
For us, the way we operate, the sales management, the business unit president and its leadership very much drive how they want to go to market. We help them both tactically and strategically, but we help them plan their campaigns and their budgets, and they can choose how much they want to use us or not. Um, I wouldn't say our services aren't free to them, but almost. We
Okay.
typically don't charge for labor internally, so that they can save that. But it's not just about cost savings; it's more about how much of it do they want to manage and control themselves, and how
Yep.
much do they need help. And some of our bigger units have bigger teams, that can do that. Some of our smaller business units rely on us more to carry the ball completely for them.
Got it. One last question. So, if I'm an agency that would love to find its way in and help out a group like Leggett and Platt, what would be your counsel in terms of how they talk about themselves and the value that they should articulate relative to what they would bring to your organization?
They first and foremost, they would need to be experts in the industry that they're trying to sell into.
Okay.
And also not approach us as a corporate entity, which is a mistake a lot of them make. They'll try to approach Leggett and Platt corporate, which doesn't technically sell anything. We manage the business of all these businesses, but the automotive group knows how to sell to the automotive group, and
Right.
you can't approach it unless you also know how to sell to automotive companies, and so on with all of our different organizations. If you're an agency that's used to working with large scale construction, then our Haynes companies, Haynes Geo, is appropriate for that company. But we probably wouldn't be able to speak the same language if you were talking about the people that make chair components.
Right. Right. Okay. Makes good sense. Well, great. Anything else that you want to add before we sign off here?
We have a kind of catchphrase that some of us joke about, that you don't know who we are, but we're probably all over in your life. One of the things that we're kind of proud of, I certainly am, that the company tries to always be the best in whatever marketplace they're in. That we don't try to go for the low cost imports. We don't build junk. We try to have the best products, which means we sell into the best clients. And
Hmm.
it's something that we're very proud of, that no matter what the industry is we're in, you can count on us that we're going to build the best products on the market. Uh,
That's awesome.
I think
That's
that's
awesome.
something that really carries the company forward.
Yeah. You said how long has it been around?
Over 130 years.
That's fantastic. That's incredible. Well, listen, Michael, really appreciate you making the time today. It was a great conversation. I know I learned a lot. I'm sure our marketing viewers and agency viewers will learn a lot as well. And wish you all the best. And again, thanks so much for making the time this afternoon.
Thank you, Mark. If your listeners want to ask questions, I'm on all the social channels.
Excellent, excellent. Thanks, Michael.
Thanks, Mark.
So that concludes another episode of The Marketer's Edge. If you're a marketer, I hope you learned a few things that can help you better your business. If you're an agency, hopefully you picked up some insights to better your relationship with your marketing client. If you'd like more information about either of our businesses, either RSW US or RSW Agency Search, the websites are listed below. Have a fulfilling, productive, and insightful day. Thanks for joining us.